Truth builds inner strength in a way that no external validation ever can. When you commit to truth, you begin a silent rebellion against everything false within and around you. You stop hiding behind masks. You stop performing for the world. There's a rawness in truth, a kind of purity that strips away all the layers of pretending, and that exposure forces you to develop something far deeper than surface confidence. It demands courage. Telling the truth means standing alone at times. It means saying things others are too afraid to admit. It might mean shaking the ground beneath your feet, but it also means you're planting new roots, stronger ones that can withstand the storm. The reason most people avoid the truth is not because they don't know it. It's because it's heavy. It carries weight. It challenges the comfort of illusions. It invites consequences. But here's where the transformation begins. When you learn to carry that weight, you become stronger, not just emotionally, but morally, mentally, and even spiritually. You begin to build a spine, a center that doesn't collapse under pressure. And once you've tasted the strength that comes from living truthfully, you stop settling for anything less. You no longer chase false approval or bend yourself to fit into places where you don't belong. You become anchored in something deeper. Your values, your honesty, your integrity. With every honest conversation, every hard truth spoken, you chip away at fear. You stop letting fear make decisions for you. You begin to show up as your full self, even when it's messy, even when it's not what people want to hear. That is real power, knowing that your words, your actions, and your heart are all aligned. And when they are, you walk through life with a quiet confidence. You stop second-guessing yourself. You start choosing peace over approval, clarity over comfort, truth over ease. That kind of strength doesn't come overnight. It's built in small moments, choosing not to lie when it would be easier, owning up to a mistake when denial feels safer, speaking up when silence would protect your ego. But those small choices shape who you become. They shape your self-respect. And self-respect is non-negotiable if you want real strength. You start showing yourself that you can be trusted, that you will do the right thing, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching. And when you know that about yourself, no one can take that from you. That's the kind of strength that holds you up when everything else falls apart. Living in truth means you're no longer at war with yourself. There's no need to fake. No need to impress, no need to perform. You begin to operate from a place of deep alignment. Your heart, your mind, your soul, they start speaking the same language. That kind of harmony within creates stability. You can face pressure without breaking, criticism without shrinking, and loss without losing yourself. Because you know who you are. You've built that identity with honesty, decision by decision, truth by truth. And perhaps the most powerful thing of all is that your truth becomes a light, not just for yourself, but for others. When you live truthfully, you give people permission to do the same. You become the example, the reminder, that strength isn't about perfection, it's about authenticity. It's about having the courage to say, this is who I am, this is what I believe. And I will not betray that, no matter what lying often feels like the easier path in the moment. It offers a quick escape from discomfort, conflict, embarrassment, or responsibility. A lie can smooth over a tense situation, protect your image, or delay the fallout of a mistake. That's why so many people fall into the habit of lying, not because they want to be deceitful, but because it feels safer than facing the raw, often painful truth. It becomes a form of self-protection, a shield against judgment or rejection. But this protection is temporary. The relief it brings is short-lived. Because the lie doesn't erase the truth, it only covers it up for a while, and beneath that cover, tension starts to build. Every lie creates a split between the world you're pretending to live in and the reality that actually exists. Over time, that split grows wider, and maintaining it requires more energy, more lies, more pretending. What begins as a small act of avoidance eventually becomes a heavy burden. You have to remember what you said, who you said it to, and how to keep the illusion alive. That constant mental juggling drains your peace. It creates anxiety, stress, and a nagging fear that the truth will eventually surface. And it always does, because truth has a way of rising. The longer a lie is sustained, the more damage it causes when it collapses. Lying also damages your relationship with yourself. Every time you lie, even if no one else knows you know, you feel it inside. A part of you recognizes that you've chosen the easier path over the right one. Over time, This erodes your self-respect. You stop fully trusting yourself, because deep down, you know you compromised your integrity. And when you can't trust yourself, you lose the foundation for true confidence and inner peace. The lie may have protected you from short-term discomfort, but it cost you something deeper. Your alignment with your own values, your clarity, your inner strength. In relationships, lies create invisible walls. Trust is built on truth, and once it's broken, it's hard to rebuild. People may forgive, but they rarely forget being misled. The damage a lie causes often far outweighs whatever discomfort the truth might have brought in the beginning. Lies can destroy intimacy, break bonds, and create lasting emotional distance. What feels like protection in the moment can become a weapon against connection in the long run. There's also a ripple effect to lying. Once you tell one lie, it becomes easier to tell another. It becomes a habit, a reflex. You start shaping your world based on what's convenient, rather than what's real. And as this habit grows, your life becomes less grounded in authenticity. You may still function, still succeed on the surface, but it's hollow. The foundation is weak, and deep down, you know it. Lying distorts your sense of reality. The more you lie, the more you have to convince yourself that your version of the story is true. You blur the line between who you are and who you're pretending to be. That kind of inner confusion doesn't just affect your mind, it affects your emotional health, your relationships, and your ability to make clear, grounded decisions. You become reactive instead of intentional, lost in a web of half-truths and false identities. The short-term gain that lying offers ends up costing your long-term peace, authenticity, and growth. Truth is costly, but silence is pricier, because while truth may create tension for a moment, silence can stretch discomfort into years. When you speak the truth, you may hurt someone's feelings, challenge a lie, or disrupt a comfortable illusion. But in doing so, you create the possibility for honesty, healing, and genuine connection. That discomfort, while sharp, is often temporary. The truth clarifies things. It opens doors to resolution, even if that resolution is difficult. It puts everything on the table. It forces what is real to be seen. And though that might be messy or painful, it's honest. And honesty has the power to move things forward. Silence, on the other hand, becomes a prison built slowly, one unspoken word at a time. It seems harmless at first. It feels like you're keeping the peace. But underneath that peace is a slow decay. You stop saying what matters, and eventually you stop even feeling what matters. You train yourself to look away, to tolerate what should not be tolerated, to swallow what should be spoken. That habit of silence starts bleeding into every area of your life. You start avoiding difficult conversations, not just with others, but with yourself. You hide your truth from the world, but worse, you start hiding it from yourself. Silence also creates a false version of relationships. If you're not speaking your truth in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a partnership, or family, then the connection is not built on who you really are. It's built on a version of you that agrees, that pleases, that avoids. Over time, that feels empty. People might like you, but they don't really know you. You feel surrounded yet alone, because no one has truly seen your heart, your pain, or your truth. That loneliness cuts deeper than any temporary conflict that truth might bring. It's the loneliness of being invisible in plain sight. Then there's the impact on your self-worth. Every time you stay silent when you should have spoken, you send a message to yourself that your voice doesn't matter, that your feelings aren't worth expressing, that what you know, what you've seen, what you've lived, should stay hidden. And slowly that message takes root. You stop asserting your needs. You stop believing in your own perspective. You shrink. You begin living smaller, softer, more careful, not because you don't have strength, but because you've forgotten how to use it. Silence teaches you to betray yourself in exchange for temporary peace. Over time, the truth you kept inside becomes heavy. It grows into regret. You look back at moments where speaking could have changed everything. A choice, a relationship, a direction, and realize you gave your power away in silence. And the hardest part is that no one can undo that silence but you. No one else knows the words you didn't say. The world moves on, unaware of the truth buried inside you, and that's the real price. The distance it creates between who you are and who you're pretending to be, between what could have been and what will never be, simply because it was never spoken. Even when truth shakes foundations, it gives you solid ground to rebuild on. With truth, you at least know what you're dealing with. You have something real to stand on. People might walk away, things might fall apart, but what remains after truth is something genuine, something strong. There's clarity, there's freedom. You no longer have to keep track of lies or hide behind silence. You get to live whole, present, and honest. That doesn't mean things will always be easy, but they will be real. And real is what lasts. Real is what heals. Real is what liberates you from the quiet weight of unspoken truths that grow louder every day they're buried. Truth forces growth because it confronts you with reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. It doesn't allow you to stay comfortable in illusions or avoid difficult emotions. When you face the truth about yourself, your past, your habits, your relationships, you're forced to look at what's working and what's not. That confrontation is often uncomfortable, even painful, but it's where growth begins. You can't improve what you refuse to acknowledge. You can't heal from what you pretend doesn't hurt. And you can't evolve if you're not willing to be honest about what needs to change. Truth pulls you out of denial. It shines a light on your weaknesses, your blind spots, your flaws, and your patterns. It doesn't flatter you, it challenges you. And in that challenge, it stretches you beyond your current limits. It demands responsibility. You can no longer blame others, make excuses, or hide behind circumstances when truth is staring you in the face. It tells you this is where you are. This is who you are right now. And if you don't like it, you have to do the work to change it. That's how growth happens. It's not found in comfort. It's found in truth, the raw, unfiltered version of it. Being honest about your fears, your failures, and your limitations doesn't weaken you. It humbles you. And that humility becomes the soil where real growth takes root. When you stop pretending to be perfect, or acting like you have it all figured out, you become teachable. You start listening more, learning more, adapting more. Truth makes you open, not just to criticism, but to wisdom, to new perspectives, and to better choices. It gives you the clarity to see where you've gone wrong, but also the strength to imagine where you could go right. There is a kind of transformation that only comes when you face the truth you've been avoiding. Sometimes it's the truth about how you've been treating others. Sometimes it's the truth about the story you've been telling yourself to justify staying small. Sometimes it's the truth about the way you've been sabotaging your own growth out of fear. Whatever it is, once you face it, you can no longer go back to who you were before. The awareness changes you. The awareness demands something more from you. It asks you to let go of old versions of yourself and step into something higher. Something more honest, more mature, more real. Truth also pushes you into action. It doesn't let you stay in fantasy or wishful thinking. When you accept the truth about your health, your mindset, your goals, your relationships, you can no longer sit still and hope things improve on their own. Growth becomes necessary. You start taking ownership. You start making different decisions. You start aligning your behavior with your values instead of your fear. That alignment becomes the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. And it's not always dramatic. Sometimes truth forces growth in small, quiet ways, like realizing you've been avoiding a conversation you need to have, or admitting that the path you're on doesn't align with your purpose, or recognizing that you've been seeking validation in all the wrong places. These moments of truth become turning points. They're uncomfortable, yes, but they move you forward. They peel away the layers of pretense and reveal who you really are underneath. And from that place of honesty, real growth can finally begin. The world needs honest voices because truth is the foundation of progress, understanding, and change. In a world filled with noise, confusion, and distractions, it's easy for people to become lost in a sea of half-truths and manipulations. Truth cuts through all of that. Honest voices are the ones that challenge the status quo, that refuse to conform to what's easy or comfortable. They have the power to expose injustices, to call out lies, and to inspire others to see the world in its raw, unfiltered form. Without honest voices, people are left in the dark, living in a reality that's been distorted by false narratives, misinformation, or apathy. When someone speaks honestly, they offer clarity. They provide a mirror for the world, reflecting not just what is, but what could be. They make others think, question, and consider perspectives they may have never before entertained. Honest voices provoke change because they don't simply echo what people want to hear. They aren't concerned with approval or popularity. They're concerned with truth, and that's what makes them powerful. They're willing to stand up even when their message isn't convenient, even when it's unpopular, because they understand that truth is a necessity for real growth, healing, and transformation. Honest voices also break the isolation that comes with silence. In a society where many are conditioned to conform, to follow trends, or to fit into predefined boxes, those who speak their truth provide others with the courage to do the same. When one person speaks openly about their struggles, their fears, or their convictions, it gives others permission to share their own. This creates a ripple effect. People begin to connect on a deeper level because they see that honesty doesn't require perfection. It requires vulnerability, courage, and authenticity. Furthermore, the world needs honest voices because they encourage self-reflection. They force people to ask hard questions. Is this the truth I want to live by? Is this who I truly am? In a world that often prioritizes comfort over truth, honest voices act as reminders that growth, progress, and healing don't come from hiding or avoiding discomfort. They come from embracing reality and confronting it head-on. Those who speak truthfully invite others to do the same, and in doing so, they create a space for collective transformation. There is also something uniquely empowering about hearing honesty. It makes us feel seen, heard, and understood. The truth has a way of resonating with people on a deep level, even if it's not always easy to hear. It resonates because it is authentic. When an honest voice shares their experiences, it cuts through the surface-level exchanges that dominate much of our daily interactions. It creates a connection that is grounded in realness and vulnerability, which is the foundation of trust. And in a world that is often fragmented and divided, trust is one of the most precious things we can build. In a time where so much of communication is filtered, curated, and manipulated to fit certain narratives, the need for honesty has never been more urgent. The world is full of voices, some loud, some quiet, some claiming to know what's best for everyone. But it's the honest voices that stand apart, that offer something genuine, something that challenges, provokes, and ultimately builds a better world. These voices are not just necessary, they are indispensable. Without them, the noise drowns out the truth, and progress stagnates. But with them, the world moves forward, guided by the clarity that only honesty can provide. In a world that often rewards silence, comfort, and illusion, choosing truth is an act of courage. It demands strength to face discomfort, integrity to resist shortcuts, and resilience to stand firm when honesty costs something. But that cost is an investment, one that pays back in clarity, character, and connection. Truth builds inner strength, forces growth, protects your peace, and invites others to live more authentically. Lies may offer temporary relief, but they fracture your foundation over time. Silence may seem easier, but it slowly distances you from your true self. The world doesn't just benefit from honest voices, it needs them. Your truth, spoken with conviction and humility, has the power to heal, to awaken, to inspire. So no matter the risk, no matter the resistance, speak the truth, stand for it, live by it. Because in the end, a life built on truth is the only one worth living.